Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB tree climbing channel, and I've had an overwhelming interest in learning more information about the JRB doubled stationary rope climbing method, particularly technique and details about what I'm doing, especially with that rising move. And so let's get into that today. So here I am next to a black walnut tree. I've already rigged my rope in the tree. I'm using 8mm rope with 6mm JRB ascenders with integrated rappel rings as my handles. I'm not wearing a hunting saddle today. I'm actually wearing a harness built into a pair of climbing shorts. If you want to find out more information about that, I have it on the shopping list post on my website. So I just clipped into the system. It's important that we don't have any twists and turns in the rope before doing so. And a swivel can help eliminate that. There is a swivel on my system, but you'll just want to visually inspect and make sure you don't have any twists and turns before you get started. The very first thing you're going to want to do when you step into the system is actually the last thing you're going to do when you're climbing, and that is to make sure absolutely you know how to form your Munter friction hitch. Now I have a dedicated video on the Munter, but it's this simple: an underhand loop to the left, and I know you can't see that from your vantage point, but I can do that blindfolded and in the dark. And just make sure that you know how to form your Munter so that you're ready for your rappel. So that's step one. Know the Munter. Step two is make sure that your friction hitches are ready to be moved. So I'm going to sit into the system. So it's now got my full body weight. And I'm going to make sure, at first point, that I'm capable of breaking my friction hitches, because I need to do that to transition into rappel. And so I'm just going to grab on the one, and with no problem, I can break that. And I just turned this into a moving rope system because it moves a little in the crotch. But I'm just verifying that I'm capable of breaking them. Great. Now, let's make sure that I'm capable of moving them. So I'm just going to keep my left hand here on the ropes, and I'm just going to get a feel for moving them up and down. When I grab the handle, I don't grab them with two fingers like this. I grab the handle, whether it's a carabiner or a rappel ring, and I try to operate that vertically, because I always want to be sliding up and down the rope as it appears on the tree under tension. I don't want to be pulling it towards me. I don't want to be pushing it away from me. I just want to slide it up and down. And you can see how easy that is. So, next step is proceeding with the climb. I've got my garter, hitch, foot loop. And the nice thing about the garter is, well, it always holds if you've affixed it on the rope properly. And I've got a dedicated video on how to do that, but we simply clip it through both lines, bring the doubled rope over the top, and enter the top biner only. That's the garter. If you don't have it in there correctly, it's not going to hold. And if you do, it can't be broken. Okay, and now I've stepped in. I've got that foot just a couple inches off the ground. I call this my best friend, or my redundancy. Now, I don't have a redundant bridge, but I do have my rappel carabiner, and I'll tie into that. That is my redundant point of attachment to the climbing line. And now, before we actually execute a full climb, we're going to want to make sure that we have rehearsed that rising move while our feet are darn close to the ground. So I'm going to bring my garter hitch up so that this quadricep, this leg, I've got a horizontal leg here, and therefore I'm poised to step up. I'm going to grab my two JRB ascenders with the respective hands by the handles, and I'm just going to stand. I'm just going to stand and sit a few times. I want to get a hang of that move, right? I want to get a hang of it. I want to feel comfortable. Now, When I get to the top of that, I'm kind of pulling on these ropes. Well, how do I avoid pulling? Well, shoot that leg a little bit more underneath you, and there'll be less pull. So the rope is pretty much pressed on my beer belly, right? We got that rope pressed against us, so I'm not pulling. And now I'm better able to move these ropes. With just a little pull with my left hand, I can raise the right one. With a little pull with my right hand, I can raise the left one. We want to get a feel for that move. We want to get a feel for that move. We want to feel comfortable with that move. Right? Can't get hurt. I'm too close to the ground. Okay. Now that is a fair way to climb, but if we're going to rehearse that double shove, this is the time to do it. Let's make that the backup, and let's try that double shove, whether it's on your first climb or your second climb. And this requires a little bit of trust in the system. That's why we're doing it so low to the ground. But as my body reaches this apex here, and if I were to effectively let go, before my body gets a chance to fall, with my left and right hands, I push up. I stop pulling towards me and just push up the line, the direction that the rope is falling. So here it goes. It'll be a little quick. I stand and push. I don't stand and then wait and now push, because I'm in no man's land. It's uncomfortable to try to move both of them now. You would have to move one at a time. We stand, and as soon as we reach the apex, shove. This time I'll do it with just one hand at a time. Now, as I get higher up and there's some sky in the background, you're not going to be able to keep your eye on me quite so well, but hopefully my silhouette will tell the tale. So I'll enable that. I'm gonna push up and raise first with my right hand, and then my left hand. And if let's say I didn't push one as high as the other, let's say I only pushed one up, as I sit, the rope is going to move in the tree crotch. It becomes a moving rope system. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And then you would simply just stand back up and fix that. Get them even again. But you're always connected with a second point of attachment. Okay, and now, even though I'm only 8 feet off the ground, I'll transition into rappel by removing the garter hitch completely and forming that well-rehearsed Munter friction hitch on, you know, your secondary bridge or your secondary point of attachment. And I tend to have it lower for optimal geometry, but that Munter could be formed anywhere here as long as it's south of your JRB ascenders. So I've got the Munter formed. I take a strong grip with my left hand and I break these friction hitches. On the way down, very important that they're nice and loose. They're nice and loose. I'm not taking half of the friction with the Munter and half with these. No, I'm taking all the friction with the Munter, and these are just being tended on the way down. Got some long needed rain last night, and that black walnut is nice and slippery. Okay, so now with that as background, let's watch somebody else do it. All right, guys, welcome Caila. Caila's a friend of mine for the local climbing community, and she has volunteered. And I've had a couple of folks back out on this attempt before, and that is to have their very first attempt at JRB climbing to be filmed. And so I want to thank her for her courage in this endeavor. So her background is she's done some bouldering and she's done some rock climbing, but she's not a rope climber. And in fact, she just learned how to tie the Munter friction hitch. We just rehearsed that a good dozen times. And so we've got her in the system here, and I am going to assist her as we just get up just a few feet off the ground. All we're going to really rehearse here is a safe, short climb to a few feet so that we know all the parts of the system, we know the rising move, and we know how to engage that munter. All right, Caila, so thank you again.
Sure.
And I've got my rope ready to go for any reason I need to get up in the tree. We decided to go without helmets today. They're sitting right here, but I do recommend personal protective equipment for those experimenting, especially if you're by yourself. You don't want to knock yourself out and not know what happened, right? So let's try to proceed as cautiously as possible. Okay, so Caila, we've got your friction hitches in the system. They're a little bit long for you. They were built for me, but we shortened up your bridge a little bit. And we've got your redundancy hooked up, and we've got your foot loop in. So let's go ahead and step in there with your right foot as you saw me do in the video. Okay. Okay, so that's good. Now the job of that foot is to really stay under your center of gravity. It's going to stay under your butt, under your center of gravity. So let's take a little, I want you to do the work. I want you to pull up on this a little bit until that foot's off the ground a little. Your left leg will go on the tree. It's going to be your positioning leg. Now this tree is really slippery because of the rain we got last night. And so, but you know, you're not going anywhere. You just go, you'll just be getting closer to the tree. So let's make sure that with your left and right hand, you can comfortably reach those all the way down on the handles. So your hands are going to be on the handles, and when you rise, we'll be pushing those up. So the first thing I want you to do is I just want you to stand. I just want you to stand and see how comfortable you are standing and sitting with this foot on the tree. Okay? Good. Good. That right leg is right underneath your center. Okay, now let's try to push these up just a little bit. Okay, now sit back down. So you actually just climbed a little bit, but we're not going to count it because that right foot was kind of still on the ground. Let's go ahead and let's raise that up. Okay, until this leg is roughly horizontal. Okay, so this is going to be our actual first move. So you just watched me climb, and so you have your choice of options, Caila. You can try the double shove, which is that move where when you stand, as soon as you get to the top of the stand, you're throwing those up. Or you can push them one at a time. I'm going to just be here to spot you, and I'll let you decide. There you go. Nice job. So, by the way, your balance is really good. You've got that leg under you. If you had that leg out in front of you like this, well, then you'd be holding on. So, excellent. Go ahead and raise that up a little, and you can grab this nice and small. You can grab it here and get a better bite. Exactly. Okay. So, and the higher that leg goes, the bigger your rising move. Okay. So hands on the handles, rise up, push them up. Okay. Now, that was good. But I still would call it a two-part climb. You did a rise and then you did a move. I want you to trust the system this time that when you get to the top, be a little aggressive in that rising move, and then be a little aggressive in that push. So it's kind of like you're giving somebody a high five. You know, you're jumping up with a little bit of energy. You're jumping and smacking those up there. Okay, and I'm here. The system is self-spotting, and I'm just here for reassurance. We got you. There you go. That was it. That was perfect. So as we refine that, so now, honey, you can go as high as you want to, but while understanding that you've got to engage that munter. So I won't let you out of view, but why don't you go ahead and go up a little higher?
Okay.
Get that foot underneath your center of gravity for your next move.
Tree's really slippery.
Excellent. All right, so let's see if we can't get that Munter in. I'm going to come spot you.
Okay.
Got the camera watching you. So we're going to remove the garter. So your right foot can come out of the loop. And again, the tree's slippery, so you're not going to get hurt. And so let's see how you do it removing that garter. Right, we've got to open both of those veners. We got to create a little space in there. It's a little tricky your first time. We didn't really have you rehearse this on the ground, but I know you've got the finger strength for it. Right. Perfect. Now, we can leave that garter. We could leave it on there. Well, why don't you hand it to me for your first time? You can just remove it from that other vener. And just so it's not in any way impeding your engagement of the Munter. I've got it. All right, so take your time and let's have you try to form that Munter. Okay.
Okay.
Underhand loop to the left. Yeah, that's it. And then bring that bite forward. This is excellent. All right, now let's get some slack out of there. Take any slack you can out of it by those two bites on those two strands on the left. Lift them up a little bit. Pull, there you go. Yeah, that's it. So exactly. So it goes up as high as you can. Now you want a firm grip on the two strands going into the Munter. You want to, because they will control your friction, not up there going into it. Right. Now, this is an important part in the climb. That left hand, you're going to hold on to that with your life, okay? Because that's controlling your rappel until we've broken both strands. Now, I can tell from your geometry that you still have some slack on that Munter, and it's not the end of the world. All it means is when you break those friction hitches, you're going to move a little bit, but just trust it. Trust it, okay? So get your hand a little further away from the carabiner. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, and I want you to break either one you want to break. Break it and pull it down to you. Down. And is it nice and loose now? You feel it loose? That's it. Now go ahead and break the other one and bring it down. Get it nice and loose. Now before you come down, before you let any slack, I want your right hand to be holding both of those hitches and making sure that they never go back up. They want to go back up. There you go, and slowly let slack in. Excellent. Good work.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to have had this demonstration today. Everybody's, I've witnessed a number of these in recent months, and everyone has a slightly different experience. I watched a gentleman who is double my body weight get on my system, and as you can imagine, his profile was a little different than mine, and so he had a little harder time getting close to the hitches. He had a little harder time advancing them. He wasn't able to master the double shove, but he was able to do it by advancing them one at a time. And so, again, if there's technique in this, it's that rising move. And so I'd like you to rehearse that in a safe setting with a spotter, with a helmet, if you've got one, with a crash pad, over the pond if necessary. And let's make sure we've got all the details worked out before we try something on a hunt. Thanks again.
Sure.